Hello, everybody. My name's James, and welcome to the Planet FPL Fan View, where I welcome one of our correspondents onto the podcast to discuss current matters at their club. And I'm delighted to say I'm joined today by our new Leicester City correspondent. It's Sam Martin. How are you, Sam?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Yes, very well, thank you, mate. What we're going to be doing on this podcast is getting to know Sam a little bit better and some of his historical fandom following the Foxes and a little discussion on what's currently happening with the club at the moment. Once again, as mentioned on the podcast yesterday, just a big thanks to Aaron Lager for all his contributions covering Leicester City for us on the podcast over the last few years. Sam, Leicester City. Does Leicester City choose you or did you choose Leicester City?
No, it chose me. Yeah, I didn't get a choice in that. My dad's a Leicester fan. My granddad's a Leicester fan. It's certainly one of them that, as I was growing up, maybe yeah, held it against them a little bit when you're at school and people are Man U fans or Liverpool fans. But yeah, the patience held off. It turned out to be not too bad in the end.
I understand your first game was at Selhurst Park randomly.
I think yes, yeah, it was, yeah. When Wimbledon were playing there, which is proper random. I think my auntie lives down in London, and we were down there. So I think I was for about 3 years old. Went there in the away end back when you didn't need priority points or rubbish like that. And then yeah, from then on, probably got the bug. I'd be lying to tell you if there weren't times where maybe it would be fun to support a Man U or an Arsenal. But yeah, it's always been Leicester, and yeah, I'm from the area, so it's one of those that we're all Leicester fans, and we all grew up Leicester fans.
It'll be fun because a club like Leicester City will never win the league, right?
Well, exactly. Maybe the Championship. I saw him win League One. I thought that was enough.
Maybe
Um,
maybe that's a good place to start in terms of like League One. So what was that 0809 season? Is
yeah,
that kind
so
of roughly when you started going regularly?
no, I always had season tickets. I think I'm like one of three, well, four. I've got a little sister, but I'm one of three brothers. So I think my dad took us most weeks just to get us out of the house. I think I was a mascot in on my fourth birthday. So I got quite lucky that when I first really started going to watch Leicester, I was mascot Man U at home. So we were in the Premier League at that point. And that's sort of some of my earliest memories as a Leicester fan. And then yeah, if you like, so sort of 08, 09, that I'd have been sort of like 11, 12. So that's when you're really, really paying attention to it, as opposed to having the kits and going for the food and drink more so than the actual football. So yeah, that of that period, really in the Mandarich era, and then obviously in I think it's 2010 when the KP group came in, and then it's just been upwards from minus the knockout and Deeney incident. It's been upwards from there really.
The greatest goal ever scored from a neutral perspective. Yeah, I get that. How did the club end up in League One? How did it? How did? Because
Um,
that's the only year you've ever been outside the top two
yeah,
divisions.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
correct?
Yeah, so it again, uh, with it's hard really to speak too much really on in terms of that. It's one of those that can happen to clubs down there. You get into a little bit of financial trouble. You look at a side like Derby that have been down there, obviously Leeds that have been down there. And unfortunately, we went when we did get relegated, and we just weren't really good enough that year. And we got relegated at Stoke away. And we went down, and I think fair play to the owners at the time and the management. It was kind of a case of the last thing we want to do is be down here, and it's a case of get back up as quick as we can. And we sort of changed the side, and we won League One pretty easy. Got promoted, and then all of a sudden it was kind of a well, let's forget about that period of time. And a bit sort of similarly to what we did sort of last year in that obviously we got relegated to the championship. It was a case of right, let's change the tact and a new manager, new system, and get ourselves back up as quick as possible. And credit to the team then, it worked. So touchwood, we have been pretty good at doing that over the years, in terms of getting ourselves back from sort of doom, if you like.
So was it Nigel Pearson was manager when you got promoted from League One, and
Yeah,
then you ended
yeah,
up with Sven?
yeah.
I
So
mean, that's
Sven
quite
was
a
sort of
League One to Sven is interesting.
Yeah, so Sven was sort of like the glamour appointment. Obviously when the Thai owners came in, and it was sort of a big name and really exciting. Um, we started chucking a bit of money, but I don't know if it's I'm not yeah, I can't blame Sven. But it was probably unwise money, if you like. Some players that were sort of coming in on weird contracts and probably names as opposed to high quality proven championship talent. Pearson then came back. And then yeah, the story is then obviously as from there and well known, the 13-14 season obviously came up, but the 12-13 season, if you like, we sort of scraped into the playoffs and had a decent chance. You hoped, and we went to Watford thinking that we got a decent chance, and
Was you in the
obviously
away
the
end?
no, I was away actually, so I couldn't make it. Fortunately, probably I was at the home game and then was meant to go, but yeah, we were away on a family trip.
I take it we're watching it live though.
Yeah, I cried on holiday. Yeah, so
Can you explain that minute?
not
If
really.
you must see the goal every now and again, surely, still almost
Yeah, it
unavoidable.
pops up all the
Can
time.
you
Yeah,
still believe it when you see it back? For those who don't know, you had a penalty in the last minute. Was it to win or to take it to extra time?
yeah, that was to win. Yeah,
To win, it gets saved.
effectively to win. Yeah,
Yeah, it gets saved, and they break away and score,
yeah, yeah.
and they win.
Yeah. If I'm being brutally honest, I try not to watch it. As
I get
daft as
that.
that sounds, like given everything that's happened, and that does sound daft when you think about like what we've done. It was magical for everything that was like everyone non-Leicester. It was like what an amazing moment to have such a massive game, and um, on a nice edge like that. Um, like you say, like fortunately it didn't matter. We were then really good next year, and it probably wouldn't we wouldn't have won the league if who knows, we could have come straight back up.
So I guess that next year in the Premier League was that kind of really your first real experience of Premier League football as a fan.
Yeah, so I had a season ticket. I was there for sort of 03, 04. But I was 8, 9. So in terms of that season, the 14-15 season, and obviously we come in and yeah, like you say, that was probably my first proper experience. It got off to sort of a pretty bad start. We were probably thinking that we were down because although we were playing well and we were quite dogged, that can happen, and teams can get relegated who maybe don't deserve to. So I think from a fan point of view, it was kind of like, well, let's enjoy this, um, let's enjoy the experience. And like I say, I was probably sort of 16, 17 at the time. So I went to pretty much as many away games as I could and do everything. And then yeah, the tide just changed. And I'd be lying if I said that the players didn't deserve it, and it was something that really changed overnight. And because through the first half of the season, we weren't getting hammered, or we weren't being embarrassed, and you didn't think this side's sort of useless. It was just we've battled and we've been unlucky to lose. Sort of similar to where we probably are now. There has been some bad performances this year, but we were unlucky against Man City, and then we were unlucky against Villa this weekend. So it's sort of similar to that. And then everything just sort of clicked. We won big games. We turned around games, West Brom away, that we were sort of struggling, and scored two late goals to then go and win that. And they were down there with us fighting at the time.
Was it like seven
And
wins from the last nine or something?
yeah,
It's an
yeah,
incredible
yeah,
run. Was it one I remember at Burnley as well. I feel like Burnley missed a penalty and you scored a
yeah,
really scruffy goal and you won 1-0. I remember
yeah.
that being a really important result.
Yeah, and I was there again. Like you said, they hit the post with a penalty, and then we kind of like scuffed one in, and we were just going and getting massive wins. and the desire was there, and it felt like everyone was sort of playing for each other. And I think obviously that everything what happened in the off season happened, post that once we got once we stayed up, and obviously Ranieri came in, and I think the amazing thing that he did, and he has to take credit for, and you have to say that that's the sign of an experienced manager, was he probably came in and didn't really do too much because he saw that belief from the year before. And obviously we brought in players, and the Kante signing changes the side. We wouldn't have won the league without Kante, but he probably just sort of let them sort of play and have that sort of carry through that spirit of the club, and elevate it really, if anything. And you look at the side that won the league in that 15-16 season, and it will never happen again. And it wasn't a team of superstars really, like it was a team that was playing for each other, and you were proud to support them. Obviously you're going to be proud because we won the league, but regardless of that, you felt that they gave everything for the club, and that was the same the year before. If we'd have gone down, if we'd have won 5 of 9 and gone down, you'd have been proud of the side, because you really felt that they gave everything, and they were giving you 100%. And sadly, that's not been the case in previous years of following Leicester sides, but certainly at that point it was.
I've got a few questions on that. So the first thing that I hadn't remembered this. It was only I was doing some research for a quiz we were doing on, and Nigel Pearson was a matter of subject, and I didn't realize that he didn't leave the club till quite late in that summer. It wasn't a case of the previous season finished and he was out the door at the end of May. It was like the end of June.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
what happened? Why did he go?
um, I guess you'll never know officially. They went on a pre-season tour to Thailand, and there was an incident involving 3 of the players, with some Thai women, yeah, sex workers or whatever you like. And there was sort of some sour things said, and stuff like that, and it was filmed, and it ended up everywhere. But one of the players involved was Nigel Pearson's son. So the sort of, I guess, the working theory is that it sort of bubbled over from that, if you like. I don't know is the
So
honest
if it
answer.
wasn't for the Thailand tour, you probably never would have won the league. Is
Well, exactly, yeah.
honest reaction when Ranieri took over. Can you
Uh,
remember
uh,
it?
yeah, well, yeah. Again, another a bit of a funny story really with that one, because obviously we'd stayed up, and like I say, I think I just turned 18 when we'd stayed up. So the season we stayed up, I just turned 18. Finished my A levels, me and a group of lads, like my mates, not just a random group of lads. We went to Magaluf in Thingy, so flew from East Mids straight into Palma. And as we're stood in East Mids Airport queuing to get on the flight, I sort of like nudged one, and I said, like, that's Cambiasso. I was like, why would Cambiasso be on a Ryanair flight to Mallorca? It's obviously not Cambiasso. But lo and behold, it was. On our plane, I felt sorry for him. It was just stag do's and like lads' holidays. He got absolutely mobbed. But in the like the baggage, whilst we were waiting for baggage, um, he was just on his own, and we were just there. So we went over and we were like, look, like, any chance we can have a photo? He's like, yeah, no worries. We were like, oh, you're signing on another season, and he didn't say nothing. And we
Because
were like,
he'd been great for you
yeah, he'd been
and went, and
phenomenal.
people
And
forget that.
yeah, and one of the most amazing players I've ever watched. I fell in love with him as someone who loves the game. I absolutely fell in love with him. The things he saw, the things he did, they're truly like an unbelievable footballer. And it was kind of a pinch me moment to watch to one of the greats of the game. And we were all so confident, and it was kind of like a case of ah, I don't think he's coming back, because he was just like, oh, sorry lads, I've got to go. And then I think about a week later, I think it was maybe the end of the trip. was still in Magaluf, they appointed Ranieri, and we were just kind of like, oh, I'm not sure about
Well,
this
no one
one.
was. I mean, you don't need me to remind you.
Yeah, and like I'm like big enough and brave enough, and that's why I sort of said one of the best things he did, I think, was probably not do too much, and sort of allow what Pearson had done and sort of the camaraderie, if you like, of the squad to just kind of carry on. Um, but again, you even look at that sort of off season, like I think in that off season we signed sort of Okazaki, Fuchs, Kante, Hoof, I think maybe, or maybe Hoof was a year before, but like there were four big players that were part of that 11. That's pretty much like unheard of now, really, to find players that were able to come in and come the end of the season. You'd have thought that they'd have played at Leicester 10 years because we had a squad of players that just all seemed to get it. Even an Okazaki, like you couldn't imagine the side without it. Like Ajoa scoring massive goals like at the start of the season. Even like I think back to the start of the Villa at home when we were sort of 2-0 down and won 3-2.
Yeah,
And like Nathan Dyer got kicked and then in the head and we scored, I think, for the winner. And it was just stuff like that where, like, don't get me wrong, no one was there. We went into that season, right, we need to stay up. That's the most important thing. We stay up, we get a few years in the Premier League, you establish yourselves and you try and become a Brighton or, well, now with modern day, but, you try and establish yourself as a middle ground of the side. So we won some big games like that, and all of a sudden you think, well, like we might be all right, we might stay up here, and then probably similarly to sort of a Forest now. Forest had just been or I say unlucky. We were probably more lucky that we didn't have a Liverpool the year we won the league. There wasn't a side
everyone
that just
fell off
ran away
together.
with it. Yeah. So all of a sudden we were sort of winning games and losing the odd game and dropping points, but so was everyone else. And before you know it, we were probably at a point where you're thinking, there's every chance we get the Champions League here. Like it went from the goal being to stay up to top our finish to hang on a minute, we might get European football. And obviously, for me growing up, I heard stories of my dad in Atletico Madrid and stuff like that, and always dreamed of that. Like that was what I wanted. That was to me like what football was, if you like. And then I think it was probably when we went away to Man City and we won there, and you were like this is on. Like we could go and win that, and then we lost the next week away at Arsenal, and you were like, okay, we got a
Yeah.
bit carried away. But we're not. But then from them we just went on a ridiculous run. But even if I'm being brutally honest, even till the very end, I thought that we were going to bottle it. And I know if you look at the league, we won by 10 points or whatever it was. But we dropped points late on against West Ham, and then I was at Old Trafford when we were kind of like, you're kind of thinking like, we need to
You only
win
needed
it.
one win with four to go, and you still weren't
I
sure.
know. Well, I was at Old Trafford. I was thinking we need to win it. If we don't win it, we could be in a bit of trouble because we were Everton at home and then Chelsea away last game of the season, and we were thinking we don't want to go to Stamford Bridge needing a result, because like there's a lot of pressure on that, and you see these sort of things happen. So when Spurs went 2-0 up, it was kind of a case of, oh God, we're in trouble. And then
Sam,
obviously,
your biggest mistake was thinking that Tottenham were going to win enough games, mate. You know
yeah,
that.
yeah, I know. But I guess it was kind of at the time it 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 felt wrong to even really like think of winning the league because it felt you almost felt guilty for it because you didn't think we deserved to be able to think that.
Of course you
And
did, mate.
yeah, no. And if I probably went back, you know what I mean. I'd probably like, I'd love to have the season back, knowing that we've won the league and really enjoy
Yeah,
everything about it because like, I remember I felt feel bad really thinking back. It was my sister's like birthday. It was the day we lost to Arsenal, and no one spoke to her. Like the whole family was like devastated.
and it was
Um,
Valentine's Day.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Remember?
yeah, yeah. 14th, yeah, 14th of Feb. and yeah, it was like a case of like, oh, it's done. You know, like why did we allow ourselves to get carried away thinking we could win the league? And it was kind of like that was the slap back down, if you like. But yeah, like I couldn't ask for any more as a supporter. And obviously, then the year after, although we weren't very good, like the Champions League, I went on every Champions League trip.
Nice.
You know, like, and they're like memories that
Do you have any regret
it.
that you didn't have a like a Real Madrid or a Barca or a Bayern
Um,
Munich? Is there any regret about that?
Not really. I don't think. I think it was weird because the first one we had was like Bruges away, and it was September. It was 30 degrees, and everyone was there. Like the square was just you're bumping into people you went to school with, and teachers, and stuff. And then that was amazing. And then you were kind of thinking like, well, we'll do them all because we probably won't get out of the group. And then all of a sudden we got out of the group, and you thought, well, I can't not go to Seville, and I'll do it properly because we'll get beat by them. And then all of a sudden, you know, we went there and lost 1-0, then came back and got through again. You're like, oh God, like I was like, I had no money. I was just like spending every penny that I'd saved. But I was like, I can't not like you know, and that
It was
was
almost
probably the
relief when you went out because you knew you couldn't afford the semi-final. It's always my excuse when we get out of cups. When oh, the amount of money I've just saved.
yeah, because it was one of those, and that was the one thing that, like, looking back, I'm so glad I did that because um you know, you didn't know what was going to happen. But then, like, after obviously it went down, but then we then had that turn again, you know, like three or two fifth place finishes, or whatever it was, and we probably bottled Champions League twice. You know, we won the FA Cup. Like it's really been that period of sort of 6 or 7 years. You know, you literally, we were the best side to support. You know, we were run by the best um owners, and obviously like Kunvishai, you know, it's that a devastating thing. And you know, the club hadn't recovered since then. I'll like that. That's something I'll say. And you know, and I think a lot of Leicester fans would agree with me. But ultimately, everyone was jealous of Leicester fans. Not jealous, you know. Obviously, I'm not saying Man City would jealous of our success, but the way we were ran, and you know,
Free beers
the
when you get to the ground and these sort of things.
yeah,
There
you
was
know,
just
like
nice touches, weren't there?
it was, and we were spending money on it, like,
Best
you know.
sausage roll in the league, by the way.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah,
And funny
yeah.
enough, I've never really had many because at home games. I don't tend to be in the ground until like three
Like
o'clock, if you like, because we're in the pub. But I took the missus the other week, and she was like, "Oh, can we get one of these sausages?" I don't know. I've been missing out on this. Is unbelievable.
it's the
But
best sausage roll in the league by a distance.
yeah, phenomenal, phenomenal. But yeah, so like that period, like you couldn't have asked for any more. And you know, it'll be one of those that when you're growing old and stuff like that, people will say, "What you like? You went every week when in that period." Like,
Yeah.
it does feel like that will be the, you know, that like we take them locally of like Forest and stuff, and their like Champions League wins, you know, and like people I'm mates with, and that's all they talk about. And you think, well, like we're 28, so I don't think you have much memory of that, but you know what I mean. That's a memory of a club, like.
It will never get topped, will it, in terms of the emotion from that
Yeah,
season?
I don't think so. Purely like when you think of how lucky we were to stay up the year before, you know, like it is almost like you could never, if you'd have told, like, if I'd have said to you that one of the clubs would do it this year, you'd say there's no chance. You know, like these things don't happen. And you know, even and Forest, as good as they have been, you know, they're miles behind Liverpool, and that's not like a slight at Forest, but that's normality. That's what
Yeah.
happens. And over
Whereas that
38
year,
games,
everything kind of just so many teams dropped off together to the extent my team obviously it kind of was the one that ultimately had the battle with you, but no one expected my team to be
yeah,
there,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Everyone fell
yeah.
off. I'd tell you a couple of bits from the season that I remember kind of thinking about Leicester, which I probably make you laugh in hindsight now. I remember I used to play poker on Monday nights. It's getting personal now, and it was the night you played Chelsea just before Christmas, and I'm pretty sure Mourinho got the sack after that if I remember correctly. And I
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
pleased that you won that night because I was way more worried about Chelsea catching us for top four, even though they were about 10th or something, than worrying what you were doing. at that point,
Yeah.
and it wasn't meant disrespectfully.
No,
It
no,
was
no.
just they won't stay there. Then we played you a couple of weeks later on a weeknight, and I remember thinking before the game, if we beat you here, that'll finish you off, and we might get into contention. You won 1-0 with a late goal from Robert Huth, kind of sliding doors moment. Kane beat Schmeichel, but his backside bounced down, hit the bar, and come
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
And then it was like, right, that's us finished, and you might be in it. But then I remember we then went on a winning run, and the lunchtime you played Man City that you mentioned. We played Watford at home later that day. We won 1-0. Tripp scored and we went second. You won 3-1. I remember walking out the house and you'd gone 3-0 up on my way. I'm just laughing about it, not being bothered. You mentioned the
yeah,
next
yeah,
week you
yeah,
went
yeah.
to Arsenal. And I remember that because later that day we went to Man City on one. And at the time it was kind of like Arsenal, Leicester, Man City, Tottenham kind of now looks like it might be the top four. And when Welbeck scored the winner for Arsenal, I walked out of the house devastated. I was like, Arsenal going to win it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Same.
still
And that's
wasn't.
how
It,
we were. Like,
it wasn't not a not taking you seriously. It was just like I don't I don't visualize how this lasts. You
yeah,
just
yeah,
think
yeah,
that ultimately at the end, one of like Arsenal or City will end up doing
yeah.
it.
And even like the Man City game you talk about, like it was always a case of like what a performance from Mahrez, and that's the reason they won that game. And and it kind of felt like, oh, he's won his 3 points there. That'll be crucial when we're like one in the Champions League later on in the season, or like allow us to dream. And then yeah, like you say, it was regression to what you believe is a football normality, if you like.
The one that changed for me was you then went on that run of kind of like winning games 1-0.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember you winning at Watford after the North London derby had been a draw earlier in the day. Newcastle, I want to say, on a Monday night. And the one that really changed it for me was Mahrez scored and you won 1-0 at Palace. And
yeah. That was
it was a 3 o'clock game, and I remember sitting in the house and Soccer Saturday was on, and afterwards they're showing all the Leicester fans, and that was the first time
I
they
was in,
started
yeah, I
singing
was in
We're
the
going
end.
to win
Yeah,
the
yeah,
league," and I was thinking they might actually because this is getting a bit silly now.
yeah. That was one of the most amazing things. Like we went down, and I've been to Palace loads of times, and it was we won there 1-0, and we were singing, and before you know it, we were like, I feel like we've been in here. Oh wait, it's nearly 6 o'clock. Like as
You've been
daft as
there
it
ages,
sounds,
just not going home.
we were just, and it was kind of like a case of like this is seriously on, and it was most like amazing thing, and you were just singing with people that, and like I say, with Leicester, like everyone in the away ends, like you have that feel really that when we went to these games, we went through with everyone, and these are the same people that we'd been through the year before with, and the year before that, and we were on the pitch at Huddersfield when we won the league in the championship, and you're seeing the same faces of the same ones here, and you kind of like allowing yourself to believe it together, and that's probably what made like the Bruges one so special, because you're in a foreign country in like the glorious heat, like drinking like beers, and you were looking at people and thinking like we've been on this journey, all of us together. And I think the players, were bought into that, and it doesn't happen now, but you sort of talking about poker then, and I remember like being in the casinos in Leicester and playing poker with Vardy and and players like that, and
That's mad.
yeah, and we were in that we weren't big enough that the players couldn't do that,
Mm.
like because we were still that city feel, but there was it was a small time sort of club feel, in that we were a family run club, and the players looked like knew that no one had caused them trouble or anything like that. The night we won the league, like I remember, or sort of, yeah, if you like, you lost the league, but um, like that night, I remember it was just a case of like, well, we need to get into town. Like I don't know why, but it feels like that's where we need to be. And there were people there, and it was like nothing you could ever imagine really. And then the players were in the nightclub that night, coming from the party and they'd all watched it together. It just felt like that whole season we were just one. And it's yeah, it's amazing really, and I'm grateful for every single one of them for
You
the
do
memories that they
yourself
give us.
a massive disservice saying my team lost the leg. Not a disservice to my team. You're doing yourself a disservice. You won
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
mate. It should never be remembered as Chelsea drew a football match with Tottenham and Tottenham lost the league. And it does feel like that's how a lot of people remembered it. As you said, you won the title by it was 7 points clear at that point with like
yeah,
two
yeah,
two
yeah, yeah,
games to
yeah,
go, right?
yeah, yeah.
You were
No,
winning it anyway, mate. You
no,
won
no,
it.
no,
You
no.
you deserved it. Does it ever bother you when people and we've alluded to it here about everyone else fell off? Does that ever bother you? It can't. It surely doesn't, does it?
No, no, it
No.
doesn't. And it probably, I guess it depends how like realistic of a fan you are. Like, I would like to say I'm pretty like grounded, and like I can admit that you know there were reasons that everything aligned that season to allow us to do the things that we did. You might offend certain people who kind of have it in their mind that no, we were the best side of 38 games, but you know that we that we would have won that regardless. Like I can look back on it and say that certain things went away and that but at the end of the day, for stuff like that to happen, that has to happen. It's very rare in a season that a team will look back and think, oh, we there's not a period where we got lucky there, or we got lucky that sort of even in the amazing sort of Man City and Liverpool, they're scoring 100 points each. Like there's still times where they look back and think, oh, like there's that goal that nearly went in, or the one cleared off the line, or stuff like that. Like over the course of the season, there's always going to be things that you look back. So I don't think any Leicester fan would like who's sort of realistic would be too bothered because at the end of the day, what's it matter? Like
Did the club, you mentioned obviously with Vishai's sad passing and stuff, did the club forget a little bit that it was a family club in the years afterwards? Do you think? And part of that, I don't know if it was part caused by the near misses afterwards. I mean, it's a ridiculous statistic that over, I think, 76 weeks of the 2 years you nearly finished Champions League, you were in the top four for like 70 of the 76 weeks
yeah,
or
yeah,
something,
yeah.
and yet never qualified. Did the club along that
I
path get almost so good it thought we should be this, we should be this?
I think that's true of the year we went down. I think certainly from the players. I think it's hard because no one sitting here knows the inner workings of football clubs, and we just don't. I think certainly from the outside looking in, it looked like Top probably wasn't at the same experience, and that's not his fault. He obviously wanted to take on the club as sort of probably his memory to his father of anything, like if anything. And we made mistakes after mistake. The way the club has been run, and we're still continuing to do that. There is a huge discontent between the fans and sort of the upper working sort of the club. Even the year we go down, the fact that we played with like two reserve keepers for the full season, that's just shambolic. And if you look back on that, you think how on earth? And you're right, it's probably the complacence that okay, let's get through the season and let's reset. The players. And like I love Madison, and and he was very good at Leicester at the time he was there. But he started having pops back at the fans in a case of like, if we play like this, we'll be all right. And it kind of felt like that was a mentality of the squad. We'll be all right because there's enough quality within the side. And before long we started running out of games and we started losing games. And we deserved to go down. We
Did
we
did
we
did the
deserved to go
team
down.
that get relegated have better individual quality than the team that won the league?
I would say probably did, yeah.
That's
Um,
unbelievable.
like if you look, maybe hmm, I don't know that in Mahrez and Kante and a prime-ish Vardy, you had three sort of world beaters, if you like, like Mahrez and certainly Mahrez and Kante, and obviously the Vardy for what he did throughout that season. Kante was world class. Maybe the team that went down maybe didn't have world class players, but you look at that side with like a Tillemans and Madison, Barnes, like that. There's no way. I say there's no way that team should have gone down, but they did. So there's every way that team should have gone down, and they deserve to go down. And the probably the biggest frustration, and again, it's not their fault, but they got down and they got relegated, and Tillemans went off to Villa and got a lovely move, and like fair play to him playing Champions League football. Madison got his move to Spurs, and Barnes is at Newcastle again. Like, and it was kind of a case of these were somewhat local lads, if you like, and it was kind of a case of like it felt that there was enough talent in that squad that it felt almost that. And I'm sure they didn't; they're all professionals, but it almost felt like they were kind of. It doesn't matter if we do go down because
We'll
we'll
get
just
our
move on.
moves,
You know what I
which is a
mean?
massive separation from what you said playing poker with Jamie Vardy and stuff, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's what I
and
mean.
and, and that's why there's the characters like a Vardy who, that's why he will be a Leicester hero, like to the day he dies, because we got relegated. He grafted in the Championship and got us back up. Um, whereas and look, I don't blame a Madison. Like, why he shouldn't have gone and played in the Championship. I'm not saying that, but it felt like at the time we weren't we weren't doing enough, and we didn't have people, and Leicester have always like moaned about it, but like you'd see players laughing and chatting in the tunnel before games or in the tunnel after games, and that was, and I'm not one of these that thinks like players aren't allowed to go out and have a laugh and stuff like that, but like it's kind of topical now. I remember being at the darts in Leicester, um, and Madison and Luke Thomas came in and they were up, and I remember them getting booed and they had to leave because that day I think we'd been beaten like 4-0 or something. That you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it, it's not. I'm not saying that like players shouldn't be allowed to have their personal life, and I appreciate that, but it felt that we lost all our identity as like you say, as a family run club and a club that cares, and we probably have struggled to get that back. If I'm being brutally honest, I don't think it's back. Even when we, and this is going to sum up Leicester fans, and I'm critical about Leicester fans at times. They were booing Maresca last year, and we would. We were walking the league, and
I've seen
we were the
videos when
best
you
side in
lost
the
at Plymouth
championship.
on the Friday night and people chanting for him to get sacked. You were top of the
Yeah,
league still.
we were booing 0-0 at home. Um, yeah, we were
You
top
got
of the league.
entitled, isn't it? It can happen. It's like you are this family club, but ultimately you win the league title and you have this remarkable FA Cup win as well. And
Yeah,
people think, I want a bit more of that.
yeah, yeah, and and like that it has become toxic. But I think part of the reason it's become toxic is because people are critical of and it's not Maresca's fault. It wasn't Cooper's fault. It's not Van Nistelrooy's fault. But people are critical of the upper management, and like it looks like Okoli's going to move in January, or we sign him in the summer, and you think, well, what are we doing? What are the signings that we're making? And the tough pick up points deductions and stuff like that. It was kind of a case of how badly ran are we that we just keep getting absolutely hindered by this, and I think that's why Leicester fans they probably have become entitled, and think that we deserve maybe a bit more than we actually do. But ultimately, you've got you've got people that like for a lot of people, the club is their life. You know what I mean? The absolute passion, um, and people don't like to see that being hurt, if you like, and mismanaged and run into the ground. So it's not nice to see people to see people sort of booing and stuff like that. Um, but people are upset and people don't like the way that we've fallen and where we've fallen to. Um, and you sort of get that glimpse, or albeit the side that we have this year is worse than the side that came up last year.
Yeah,
Like
I've said that.
at, and you look at that and you think, how on earth has that happened? And I
It
appreciate
happened
that.
to two teams last year as well. So
Well, yeah, I appreciate Maresca left, and and we couldn't get him replaced. But even then, Potter was nearly through the door from what I hear, and that fell through, and then we couldn't sign players because we had this point deduction looming. But then we didn't get that, and you were kind of like a case of, well, like someone would have known what was like the outcome of this. Like, albeit, yeah, it came
the,
as a
the
shock
kind of
to
the
us. But like,
Premier League heist of the century, getting away with your points deduction there, mate. In
yeah, yeah,
fairness,
yeah, no, 100%. But like, we shouldn't have been in that position in the first place.
no, of course
But
not.
how, like, and that from what it sounds like was because we sort of hedged our bets on, you know, staying in the league and certain finishes, and we didn't achieve that. But that in itself is complacency of the highest order, and to allow ourselves to get into that position, like it is shambolic, really, is kind of the way I feel about it.
We'll finish by just discussions some of the current affairs, but I was at the King Power opening Monday night of the season, and Steve Cooper's name got read out and it got booed by quite a significant portion of the home crowd, I would say. Is rivalry with Forest kind of that important?
No, no, no. It's nothing to do with the Forest. Um, I don't believe so. I don't believe it's anything to do with Forest. I think that is probably a complacency thing, if you like. People thinking that we are above a Steve Cooper um type. I hold nothing against Steve Cooper. I don't think it was his fault at all. And I wasn't inspired by the appointment, but on the one hand, I did think, you know, all we need to do this season is stay up, and if we can find someone who knows the league and has kept sides up before, then there's no reason why we shouldn't. So I think some of the booing was because people thought that we were above a Steve Cooper type, and it did then get more toxic quick. But again, parts of that was his mismanagement, and that there was no philosophy, no identity, nothing like that. But again, I don't think that was his fault because we gave him a championship standard side, said, "Oh, you can have a few players on a free or whatever," and right, best of luck trying to keep this up. Like we got no strikers. Like Vardy's the
Still
only.
relying on Vards.
Yeah, and that's not fair on Vardy. You know what I mean? He's been playing games injured and stuff like that, and you know like we had Cannon, we sent him out on loan. We brought Edward in. I've never
Ain't
seen
seen him.
him. Yeah, so like, and it just kind of like, I think that's why people are upset. In fairness to Rude, that we do look good. Like now he's had a chance to have a bit of a work. I don't know if you saw the Man City game. We were the better side for the most part of that. And if if Hermanson can come back fast, we've got a chance. Um,
He shouldn't
we
be out for
can't
long,
keep
should he?
playing. No, a couple more weeks, I think.
Don't
But we
don't
can't
don't
keep
don't
playing
get me
without.
started about watching shit
Well, yeah,
goalkeepers. Mind
yeah,
you, you had Everson and Ward, so yeah.
yeah. But even that, like, Ward against Wolves, Ward was booed before
That's
when the
not
team
on,
was
is it?
announced.
It's not. It doesn't help
That's not
anyone.
fair. Like, it's not
No.
his fault. Like, if you paid me to play in goal, I would play in goal for Leicester City. You know what I mean? Like, if you like, it's not his fault that he's just not at the level that he needs to be at. Like that is just not his fault. So, um, yeah, it is toxic at the minute. But there are positive signs to an extent.
Yeah, I think the last few have been better. Like you limited Villa quite well at the weekend. I actually thought you defended pretty well at Liverpool. There was
Yeah,
real concern that you were going to get massively turned over because the statistics of Rude's first few games going into that, with the amount of chances you can see, it wasn't looking good. You'd escaped with this draw against Brighton that no one seemed to quite understand or know how it had
yeah,
happened. I watched all of the West Ham game. And that's the most chances I think I've ever seen West Ham having a football match, actually. So it
yeah.
was kind of like you scored some great goals and you had some good chances later on, and it papered over something. I thought these might be a bit too open now. It feels like it's closed back up a little bit
Yeah,
over recent games.
I think the West Ham game and the Brighton game and the games that people were sort of really paying attention when I was seeing stats flying around, um, were probably games where Ruud probably hadn't had a chance to really get in and really set his stall out. And I think I was quite sort of vocal. I said I think people may be thinking too much into how we're playing games because, like I say, I was at Anfield and I thought if we could just get through to half time, we've got a chance. And we were lucky that Gakpo scored a good goal, and then from then it was you
Did
knew
you
what was
see the
coming.
cop through the fog?
No, no.
No,
I think
genuinely.
you could just about see it. There were times where it came back in. I'll be honest. I was now this is so stupid. You're gonna laugh at me. At 1-0 at like 35 minutes, I was like, we need that fog to stay away. Because I was like, this is the best chance we've got.
You weren't
Um,
wrong.
no, no. But even walking to the ground, like walking through Stanley Park, you could kind of make out like a glow, but you couldn't see anything.
Wow.
Um, and I was going through thinking like this could still get called, to be fair. Because I knew that because it's on telly, you know that like
They're
if
going to
they
try
can't see
harder.
it, they'll yeah. They'll make something work. And you could just see like the spider cam working its way around. So I was like, all right, they're getting good value out the spider cam tonight. Um, but yeah, I thought we did well there against Man City. We were the better side. We just couldn't score our chances, and we were poor defensively for the first one. If you give Man City 2 goals a game, you're never going to win. And at Villa, I felt we were pretty unlucky. Again, the problem is this season it's just been individual errors, as opposed to like sort of system. Certainly the last few weeks, and it's what will be interesting and how we go for sort of the next 6 months is what we do in this transfer window.
Can the
If
club do anything? Do we know or not? Are you
well,
still
it sounds
PSR
like it
handcuffed a bit or not?
to an extent, but I think that what we've just so I think the season that we've just submitted had Barnes' deal in, and as an academy player, that we got the benefit of that. And sort of then next season we'll have Dewsbury Hall's like deal in, and and again as an academy player, I don't know what the details were on the Maresca to Chelsea, but that's probably caveated by the or cancelled out if you like by the Cooper sacking.
Mm.
The worry really will be that because we sort of took the mick out of the EFL so much. If we do go down,
They're coming
like
for you.
they will make
You
it
know it.
unpleasant for us. Yeah. So yeah, by all accounts, I think we'll probably be limited to what we can do. Um, I think Van Nistelrooy sort of said that he'll try and dig into his contact book. What that means, I don't know. But we badly need some players because we've got some poor players at the moment.
With if you don't do any business, can you see staying up?
No.
That's brutally honest.
Yeah, the team's not good enough. Um, like obviously Hermanson papered over the cracks at the start of the season. He will not be at Leicester next year. I wouldn't have thought. If well, certainly not if we go down, but even if we stay up, I could see him at a Man City, a Liverpool, Chelsea.
Well,
He's that good.
as a number two or a number one?
No, no, as a number one.
Really?
I think he's one of the best keepers in the league. Yeah. Good with his feet, young kid. I'd be surprised if Maresca doesn't take him to Chelsea. To be fair, but I don't know loads about the lad that they've got coming in. Obviously, Liverpool have signed that lad coming in as well. So Man City is probably the fit, if you like. I think he'd fit a Pep style, and obviously Maresca's that Pep link. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it would not surprise me at all if he ended up at Man City. I think he's unbelievable goalkeeper.
Where do you need strengthening most?
It depends really, and it's a bit of a weird question. I think defensively we're worse, but
Goals will keep you
you
up ultimately,
yeah,
maybe.
you can't
Yeah,
stay up if you don't score goals.
yeah.
Um, so we need fullbacks both side. We need another centre back. We're probably a midfielder light. We need a winger light, and that's unlucky because Fatal we
Yeah.
obviously tore his ACL, and that's unlucky. And then we need another striker. We need a we need the next Vardy to come through, and we need to go out and get someone who is going to have that mantle passed on. I don't know if they thought it was going to be Tom Cannon and it never turned out to be. Again, sort of a weird signing. We sent him out on loan to the Championship. He's scoring goals, so a lot of people
Can
look
you
at that and
recall?
think, yeah, but they don't like him for whatever reason.
Okay.
We had sort of when Vardy was injured, Daka was injured, and then sort of like Cooper came out and said, "Oh, we've got no strikers on the bench," and Cannon was like in the squad, and Vardy was sort of taking injections so that it meant that Cannon didn't play. I don't know why that is, but yeah, I don't think they will give him that opportunity. The Daka's not good enough, so he's you know what I mean, he's not good enough to be the number two. Um, but then, like even then, it's kind of a case of like I was at Liverpool Seville pre-season, and like you had an Iheanacho who played well, and you're kind of like, why is he not? Why is he not in our side? Because although he's probably not good enough to lead the line as a player, he certainly would have provided us that additional depth.
Where is he
You know,
now?
he's at Seville.
Playing?
I don't know. To be fair, he was in
He can
pre-season.
finish. We always knew
Yeah,
that
yeah,
about him. He can
yeah, yeah, yeah,
finish.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we do. What the frustrations are, you see, like Ipswich just signed Ben Godfrey today, and you were kind of like, oh, I'd have bit your hand off for that, like.
I suppose there's an element of you've got what Vestergaard, Cody, Ukoli, and Fass. Like for bodies, you don't need a centre back.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Whereas
But
like in the fullback positions, I'm looking at it again with Pereira's injury. I don't know what your sources of if Justin doesn't play right back. I don't know what you do there.
well, I'd be
Thomas has covered
surprised if
for
Justin.
Christensen. That's probably not appropriate cover.
Yeah, they're neither Thomas nor Christensen are good enough, and I would be surprised if Justin plays another game in the Premier League. He probably will, but like again, I feel sorry for the lad, and
He's made a
you know,
big rig there at the weekend. He was getting criticism anyway, right?
yeah, but it has been all season. He was getting booed at Wolves. They had to bring him off because he was getting booed every time he touched the ball. Um, it's I do feel sorry for him, and that's kind of a massive regression because I was one of the biggest Justin fans. When he really broke through in that season. And even from an FPL point of view, he broke through and everyone had him, and then he obviously tore his ACL and he sort of never came back the same player after, which is really sad. But it's a business at the end of the day, and we can't keep giving goals down that left side or right side, wherever you're looking.
Do you think you'll stay up?
No, I
Is it
don't.
is it a, is it a disaster if you go down?
Um, it depends. Like, if if you were to tell me that it's we go down, but it's another attempt of a rebuild with Van Nistelrooy, and a similar to the Maresca rebuild, then it's not a disaster. But my concern would be that we would get relegated and we would not be able to get back up. And I didn't think that as much when we got relegated before and the Rodgers sort of relegation. It was a case of right, I know I've spoke about it before, but Barnes and Tillemans and Madison, they all go, and it's time for a proper clear out, and we go again. We brought in a new young keeper, and Winks came in, and the system of play was really different. And you kind of go, you know what, we needed that like refresh. Um, there is an opportunity if we got down that you give Van Nistelrooy the chance because from what I've seen, albeit like I'm maybe slightly biased, I have seen slight promising sort of signs, and if they give him the opportunity to do it again, um, then maybe. But my worry would be that we could go down, and we could free fall for a bit,
I think most
which would
neutrals
be
would be surprised to hear that. I think most
yeah, I
people would
think
think Leicester would definitely be challenging again next year, the worst case. But
yeah,
it feels more and more important to get back straight away. Like West Brom kept going up, down, up, down. It's like as soon as you don't come back straight away, Norwich is another good example. Once you miss one, oh, now it's looking difficult to. That's how it
yeah.
feels.
The concern would be that we would like when we went down last year. we had some players that were in that side that were sort of from our Premier League side, but were still good enough to do it in the Championship. Vardy scored us goals, and Vestergaard and Fat and those sort of players. 2 years later, we are the same team now we're the same team now really that we were then. If it's that team next season, all of a sudden Vardy probably isn't scoring you the goals to win you the Championship. Fat and Vestergaard probably aren't good enough to do that. So you look at that side and you think, well, who of the side that is playing right now are players that you look at in the Championship and go, right, they're really good Championship players. And you look at it and you think, well, probably not many, really, because Hermanson, like I say, I think go. The defense is then either not good enough now, like either Thomas, well, Christensen didn't play last year, he went out on loan. Then Thomas probably isn't good enough. The defenders will probably be a mix of too old or not there, that we've not got fullback. Winks, yes. Skip, maybe, and Samari didn't play last year and left. Indeed, now all of a sudden is 2 years down on, so he probably isn't at that level. Buonanotte
You
is on
haven't
loan,
got,
so
listen to you talk about players, you haven't got that many sellable assets at the moment. Is that
no,
fair?
we've not got anything. We've not
Yeah.
got anything, and everything that we have, you look at an Indeed, and it's easy with hindsight, but United were interested and stuff like that, and
He was
you know,
unbelievable. I think he's been important to you this year, by the way.
yeah,
He
yeah,
was
yeah, 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 yeah,
unbelievable
yeah.
going back like 4 years or so, mate.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But again, so that's one there, and like a Samaria with there's not really anyone that you look at and think, oh, there's loads of money there. Maybe the keeper would the one, and El Canus, I do really like him. But like even like you like said, Fatawu like is someone that's now going to be post ACL, so that's a punt. Like Mavadidi's not good enough probably at the level. We just the side that we have is not good enough ultimately, and it's not
Mm.
full of enough quality that would fill me with confidence that either A, we can get loads of money for them, or B, bounce straight back up or
Sam,
stay up.
pleasure speaking to you, mate. Look
No,
forward to having you back again on Clash of Correspondence soon, and welcome to the team. Thank you very much. It was a really
no,
fascinating chat on you and Leicester. Anything you want to plug before we finish?
no, not really. Just say thank you for having me. And long time listener, first time caller, if you like. But no, yeah, thank you for having me, and obviously thank you to Aaron for everything he's done. And yeah, I couldn't ask for someone better to take it on from. So yeah, thank you for having me, and yeah, hopefully that people keep listening, and yeah, I've not been too negative for people.
Well, hopefully we'll speak again in a month or so, and hopefully things
Hopefully
look
next season as well.
a little bit rosier. But you have got some good fixtures
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
up
yeah.
soon, mate. Particularly game week 23 at White Hart Lane. You can probably expect something there. Although
That could be any
I've got
score.
a
It could
new,
be
yeah,
any
it could be.
score.
I've got a new goalkeeper now, so I might be all right. Follow Sam on Twitter. Is it just Sam Martin your handle? Sam Martin, Sam Martin
Someone in
FPL,
the
is it?
PL. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
not short of a follower or two, I noticed.
No, that's only when I was plugging in the team news. No one cares about it anymore.
We didn't have time to talk about the Brendan
No,
Rodgers
no,
story.
no, no, no. That
We'll
one
say
for another day.
we'll save that for another day. Sam, brilliant. Thank you so much, mate. Clayton will be back with me tomorrow for the Clayton and James show, include a review of the Monday night match between Wolves and Forest and Tuesday's Carabao Cup tie between Arsenal and Newcastle. Clash of Correspondence on Thursday's Manchester United versus Southampton with Gary Robinson and Matt Samuel. Just so you can say thank you very much, Sam. Welcome to the team. Cue music, please, man child.